Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. On today's show, we're talking about a market that's undergoing a huge construction boom. I'm coming to you live on location from the island of Malta. This is a small island country that joined the European Union back in May of 2004. Since then, it's seen tremendous population growth as the open borders of Europe has allowed for free movement of people. Malta has always been a natural hub for relocation. Since the 1994 Malta Permanent Residence Scheme and more recently renewed schemes, the Global Residence Program, and renewed residence regulations in 2014, the country's seen a steady interest from both European and non-European nationals. Purchasing real estate in Malta is one of the main criteria to obtain residency status. The benefits of becoming a resident not only provide for special tax status of 15%, but also allow non-EU citizens to have freedom of movement within Europe and the Schengen region countries. By 2014, the number of properties in the country had exceeded the local population by 65,000 units. In the past few years, that excess has been absorbed, and the entire island is undergoing an unprecedented construction boom. There are construction cranes everywhere. One of the main drivers for migration has been the rules in Malta which permit businesses which operate in the online gambling arena. These gaming companies are everywhere, and real estate agents report that 30% of tenants looking for rental accommodations are employees in the gaming industry. Rental rates have increased about 40% over the past 5 years. Some rental apartments that opened with starting rents of €600 a month only a few years ago are now charging €1,000 a month. Some tenants have seen increases of €200 a month in a single year. The country's low-cost structure has attracted retirees from all over Europe, including some of the ultra-wealthy. Malta offers an advantageous tax structure for those who have large capital gains, and the island offers greater anonymity than, say, a hotbed like Monaco. Depending on the investment one takes, cap rates range between 4 to 7%, according to the folks at RE/MAX, and historical capital appreciation has been somewhere between 2 to 6%. Home ownership rate in the country is at 81.9%, which is high by any global standards. That compares with home ownership rates in the U.S. in the low 60s. And the current construction industry accounts for 7% of the economic activity in the country. In historical terms, that's also very high for any market. In my estimation, the market will reach a point in the near future where the market will appear overbuilt. In the high summer season, short-term rentals are numerous, and the nightly rates rival hotel rates. But in the low season, vacancies can be extremely high, and they number in the tens of thousands. I believe one of the principal constraints in the market will ultimately be transportation. The narrow streets that were built well before the advent of cars have numerous choke points where there's often only a single way in or out of a given neighborhood. My observation is that the economics of real estate in Malta are much like the rest of Europe. Local wages are low by North American standards, but the unemployment rate in Malta fell to 3.5% in the first quarter of 2019, down from 3.9% in the same period last year, and the number of unemployed has dropped really to an all-time low. The labor participation rate in the country sits at 72.2%, and for people aged under 55 years of age, the labor participation rate is 86.7%. That compares with a labor participation rate in the United States of 62.8% nationwide. Malta recorded a government budget surplus of 76 million euros in May of 2019. They've recorded modest deficits of 6.8 million from the period 2013 up until this year, and they reached an all-time high budget surplus of 136 million euros in August of 2017. The government debt-to-GDP ratio was at 50% a couple of years ago, and today the debt-to-GDP ratio is at 46%. This compares with over 100% of debt-to-GDP ratio in the U.S. Tourism is one of the main drivers of the economy and makes up 16% of the country's GDP. Tourist arrivals in Malta increased almost 250,000 visitors in April of this year, and of course they do fluctuate widely from month to month. Considering that Malta's permanent population is 433,000, a monthly tourism arrival rate of 250,000 people is fairly significant. If you consider that the island is a top destination for cruise ships in the Mediterranean, about 35,000 of the visitors came by ship, and they stay less than 1 day. The remainder stay longer, with more than half staying a week or longer. If you haven't been to Malta, I suggest you pay a visit. In the meantime, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.